All right, YouTube. Once again, it's Hare, Vernon Seward here for the podcast, talking Auburn football. Down in the deep south, college football is king, and on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Eagle. So, Auburn, looking ahead to Alabama, suffers a monumental loss to New Mexico State. Now, let's keep this in mind. Now, I did predict that Auburn would win this game handedly, which I figured they would. But Auburn got off to the worst start possible. They just couldn't gain any type of momentum on any level on either side of the football field. And for those of you who have played sports before, especially football, these things happen. Like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. So we got a few takeaways from this football game. Number one, you got to be prepared. I don't think Auburn matched the intensity of New Mexico State. New Mexico State had clinched the Conference USA championship game berth. They're going to take on Liberty. They have some high aspirations. You tag that along with maybe a chip on their shoulder. I would assume this is actually a pretty good football team. Not the normal New Mexico State. This is not the New Mexico State from a couple of years ago. This is a New Mexico State team that had won 6 straight ball games, now 7 straight ball games against Auburn. And I think that's where the ball was dropped on every level of Auburn football, is that, hey, this is New Mexico State. But then again, there's a different mentality. Coach Kill for New Mexico State has put these guys in a trajectory to where they feel like they can beat any team that they play against, especially when you're riding a 5 or 6 game winning streak. You start to get that mental capacity that, hey, we're a pretty good football team. We're not coming to this game as underdogs. We're not going to lay down for anybody. And as they continue to get momentum, they did catch a few breaks. I still think that fumble for Pavia late, I think that was kind of a game changer. I'm still not sure with the offense of Auburn just being anemic pretty much the whole night. Just couldn't get anything going. Just couldn't find any type of rhythm. Couldn't get the run pass option going. That was a telltale sign. Next takeaway is something that I was a little concerned about as this game approached, is Auburn just cannot stop quarterbacks that can run the football. Those types of quarterbacks create such an imbalance. It gets Auburn so out of sync, and they're just not a good defense against dual threat quarterbacks. They can't protect the edge. The running backs wind up having the game kind of sort of their lives. And with Jalen Milroe for Alabama, who says he's not a running quarterback, but will attack this anemic part of Auburn's defense. Now, a base offense with the drop back passer, with the basic type of offense, Auburn is pretty good against. But you look at Auburn against Ole Miss, against LSU, against teams that could utilize their quarterback as a added threat, it just creates a lot of havoc for the Auburn defense. And that's just something that I don't know if you can fix in a week, especially against a team that obviously will be more elite talent-wise. Yes, I think Auburn will play a good football game against Alabama. They're not going to lay down. They're not going to, just come into this game, woe is me. They'll get up. They're bowl eligible. Probably put themselves down in probably looking at that Birmingham Bowl situation a little bit harder right now, considering the monumental state of the New Mexico State loss. I mean, you talk about a 31-10 loss. Usually that's what we would have expected Auburn to do against New Mexico State. But for those of us who have competed in football, in basketball, or whatever sport, hey, that's the reality of the sport. Every now and then, you may find yourself in a lost predicament to a team that you're probably better than. I think if we rewound this game, started it over, probably a different outcome. Auburn gets off to a bad start. They didn't do any better in the second half with the first possession, only down 10-7. You would think that that was a situation where Auburn could gain some, but they just couldn't. And the defense just could not make stops. They continued to allow those chunk plays, those huge plays down the field that put Auburn in a serious bind. And with the clock continuing to run in New Mexico State's favor, you talk about a situation where at some point in the game, you got 9-minute drives, you got 10-minute drives. They're just chunking up the yards and just frustrating this Auburn defense that just didn't have an answer. And then you counter that with a the offense looking like how they did at the earlier points of the season. Now, just like the emotional state, another takeaway from this game is the emotional state of the Auburn fan base. I think you need to pump the brakes on the emotional state. Hugh Freeze is still continuing to do some good things with recruiting. I mean, did Alabama want to fire Nick Saban for losing to University of Louisiana Monroe? Or did Georgia want to fire Kirby Smart for almost losing to Nickel State in his year one? This is realistic as to what a coach is walking into. I'm not making any excuses for Hugh Freeze. This is a game that they obviously should have won. But given the University of Alabama back in 2007, they should have won that game against Louisiana Monroe. Kirby Smart should have won that game a little bit more handily and not needing some heroics from Nickel State in that game. So that's another takeaway. Auburn fans, I know you can't do it. I know you don't have the mental capacity to do it because you're consistently wanting to be on the level of Alabama and Georgia, and you're not willing to take the time and take the consistency to build to that point. You want a head coach that's going to come in and take you to the national championship either in year one or year two. Let's look back at the Gene Chizik era. Started out 6-7 or 7-6. His first year leads Auburn to a national championship game. Gus Malzahn comes to Auburn, inherited a lot of talent. All he needed was a quarterback. Leads Auburn to the national championship game, but wasn't able to recover after that. Do you want a quick fix? Or do you want a coach that can build a program and take it to the next level? Yes, the New Mexico State loss is embarrassing, but let's just get this through to the Auburn fan base. This is a very good New Mexico State team. This team is 8-3, 9-3. They're going to compete for a Conference USA championship, which doesn't seem like a lot, but these guys are playing on another level, and they took advantage of Auburn looking ahead to Alabama, which they shouldn't have been. Auburn is not in any shape, form, or fashion the type of football team that should be looking ahead towards anybody. Yes, Peyton Thorne. I think Peyton Thorne did the best he could considering what was presented to him. He made the best decisions possible. He didn't turn the ball over, and he just didn't have the support. Jerquez Hunter just couldn't get it going, which leads to my final take. Auburn has taken advantage of fast starts coming into this football game. They've gotten up on teams 14 points or more in the last few games, which led to some comfortability. But New Mexico State is a team that actually usually gets off the slow starts, and they play better in the third quarter, fourth quarter. That's why I was a little bit nervous in this game, because I was like, you know what? I don't know. I never had a good feeling about this game, especially when Auburn could not take the lead going into halftime. Because New Mexico State is a team that plays better as time goes on. They get stronger. They get more confident as the game goes along. And I think they had an incredible game plan. I think they did a great job of keeping Auburn frustrated, keeping Auburn off balance, and keeping the offense off of the football field. Now, Auburn takes on Alabama next week. None of this is consequential. The consequence is all in Alabama's court. Alabama has a situation to where they can push the envelope for a college football playoff berth, winning on the road against Auburn, winning against a streaking hot Georgia team that just demolished Tennessee, which I thought they would. I actually told some of my working colleagues I got Georgia by 17. They beat them worse. Ball's in Alabama's court. Auburn has absolutely nothing to lose. Hugh Freeze has absolutely nothing to lose. Going into the final game, 6-5. Recruiting is still, where it needs to be. And I think, you don't want to accept a loss like this because it's absolutely terrible. You don't want to lose to New Mexico State. But the biggest takeaway is Auburn has to continue to be patient. This is a good New Mexico State football team. A New Mexico State football team that probably could have beat all the teams that Auburn beat leading into this football game. Now, should Auburn have lost 31-10? Absolutely not. Is Auburn a bad football team to lose this type of game? Absolutely not. Media outlet, you talk about on social media now, the bipolar Auburn fans are talking about fire Hugh Freeze. Absolutely not. It's a good football coach. Bad game. Like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. War Eagle. Got some more stuff coming tomorrow as Auburn gets ready to take on Alabama for the Iron Bowl. War Eagle.